This is everybody's day. This is everybody's day. So what God did in Genesis chapter 1, still continue counting your minutes, was to ensure that if this entity called man was going to operate as the governmental entity that he had in mind, this man will need to interface with God, because man's authority is by delegation. Somebody say delegation. When you meet a revenue officer, these guys that stop people that collect taxes from them, that guy is not designed to spend the money. He comes on the strength of affiliation to the government of the state. And when he comes and screams, or those guys that stop bikes and want to give tickets every day, whether we know many of them are dishonest, but let's assume that they are honest ones. When they come every day, they do not try to extort money from people because they want to. They were mandated. There is the authority of the government. When a policeman stops you on the road, the reason why you stop your vehicle is because you know that the source of the policeman's authority is not the policeman, so his size is immaterial. He operates with delegated authority. He was sent. Are you getting me? To fully execute the realities of his sending, he must be able to sustain communication, relationship with the government. So that there are times when policemen go out and then they mount a roadblock, they are collecting money. When your guy is coming, they quickly pack up that roadblock and stand in the bush for your guy to pass. Because that day they came out on their own strength. Are you getting me? God decided that if man will be a governor in the earth, there will be elements in man that can bring him into a place where he can interact with God. 1. 2 is that if this man will be able to represent us, there is a perspective quotient in administration, such that, let's use the Lautech gate for example. When you get to the Lautech gate, there was a day I was walking in, and maybe because of, it's just casual me, sometimes I'm in prayers. Normally I greet them. So when I greet them, I pass. So this day I was deep in prayers. I just walked. They now say, come back. Where are you going to? I said, I want to use the ATM. The man said, today is a public holiday, so nobody will go in. And I said, but I need to use the ATM now. One guy now came in. The guy thinks I'm an engineer. That's what he calls me. So he said, engineer, now, what it meant was that there was no rule restricting me from entering. But because that man felt that maybe I didn't relate with him well because I was deep in prayers, he denied me entry. And when somebody who felt, it's my person, let him go. So my entrance or exit was not based on rules, it was based on perspective. If we perceived that you were a nice person, we allowed you. If we perceived you were a wrong person, we kept you out. In administration, there is perspective. Those men were running their minds, but there is a way government views things. And the design of God is that you will not only say what he's saying, you will say it based on conviction, because what makes God say what he said, you will also know. You are getting me, but you are too serious. So that if God says, bless this thing, you know why this thing needs to be blessed. I found out that people throw their heart more into a vision that they understand. Am I right? So if you tell your friends, let's go and fight that person, what do you think they will say? They say you're on your own, no. But if you say, you see, bro, that your phone that God lost yesterday, we have seen it with that guy. What do you think they will do? Even the weak ones will start making mouth and be going there. Because you brought them into your realm of knowledge. They will do what you want them to do. So God knowing that man was going to be created as an entity of choice, knew that the only way to make man stay in alignment was that man was going to be helped to come into the sight that makes God do what he does, the hearing that makes God do what he does, the concepts that makes God act the way it acts were not going to be strange to a man. So God decided the only way that he will see what we can see is to ensure that we give him something that makes us see how we see. Do you know if there are germs on your hand? Do you know if there are germs on your hand? If I had lenses that were microscopic and I see germs in your hand and I tell you to go and wash your hand and then you wash it and come back and I look again, I see germs, go and wash again, we will start a fight very soon, not so? It will not be because you were right or was wrong. It will be because the vistas through which we are viewing your hands are different. The only way I can harmonize sight is to give you my kind of lenses. So God decided that man was not just going to be an entity of the earth, using his physical eyes to see physical things. If I want you to see from my end so that you can govern by the authority I give you, I will need to give you my kind of eyes. So God said, let us make man in our image. Let us give him the tools that make for our functionality. When we speak in the Godhead, let him have an ear that he can hear. Because when a spirit speaks, your human ears are weak to capture the speakings of his spirit. There are some things that spirits know. If you look at the life of Jesus, you find out that there were many things that Jesus knew without being told. And the Bible will use that same word, and he knew that. And he knew that. There was a time that if it were you, you would have committed yourself to men. The Bible says Jesus refrained from men. Because he knew what was going in their hearts, so he could not commit himself to any one of them. That's the highest spiritual sense of perception. It's knowing. So, but why didn't you travel? I did not travel. Why? I just know that I should not travel. So, explain why what knowing not to travel means. Is as simple as I just know. Is this person a good person? Is a bad person? How do you know? I know. You will need the help of a spirit to give you utterance to explain a knowing. Because until you know, you don't know. Those that know just know. It was one of such dimensions that Paul was using to communicate in Romans chapter 8 verse 28. He says, and we know that all things work together for good. We can't explain why in the middle of adversity we are still hopeful. We just know. How did we know? We know because there's a nature, there's an image that is already operational that makes us know. Are you with me? If you don't know anybody, the average Nigerian youth that does not know anybody is hopeless. He can only be hopeful if he knows. I went to the filling station and I said, okay, let's buy fuel for 2,000 naira. And I saw the meter. 2,000 naira. Maybe 14 plus liters. When we were small, you could use like 300, 400 naira to fill a tank. Even when it got to like 400 naira to fill a tank, we were angry. Are we not the ones that are mining the crude oil? Are we not the ones refining it? So you buy 1,000 naira fuel into a jerry can and it's 6 liters plus in a good place. If they didn't first sell air to you, it's the same life, and we are not 70-year-olds yet. When I grew up, when we were growing up, there were few houses that had a generator. I mean, very few. Very, very few. It was a burden. Because in this same Obumoso, April rains were the worst. Roofs will be going off and all of that, and your bulbs will still be like this. Now, if it's raining and your bulb is on, you man will go and off it. We don't want trouble. If you have light for like 20 hours, you'll be careful with your appliances, because you are wondering, did the guy travel? Did he forget to switch it off? That's what you are thinking. It's in the same country. Your design is that in releasing, to accurately release government, you must be in possession of the image of God. God has an eye, and He gives you that kind of eye, so that in the day He says, like that guide said to Ezekiel, can you see this? You will be able to see, because you have the lenses to see. When the Spirit speaks, you'll be able to hear, and it won't take forever. You will not live on borrowed, or you will not live on revelations by proxy. That someone close to you always needs to say to you. You can pick the word of God and you can demystify it, because the tools that wrote it are inside you. That's the way God designed all of us. And let me go ahead by saying that every one of us has those tools inside them. Whether you are saved or you are not saved, you have them. They are not created in the day that you are saved. They are already there. Genesis chapter 3. I'm trying to get to that point where Paul had to pray the prayer, because I found out that Paul was not praying for unbelievers. And my challenge was, can a man be saved and still need to be prayed for, that the eyes of his understanding will be enlightened? I thought being born again was tantamount to see. But Paul says it's not equal. So let's go to Genesis chapter 3. Help me now, Holy Ghost. Genesis 3:7. Okay, let's go to 5, then we do 7. 5 to 7. I'll just rush read. 5. Now, this was the transaction. A day came when the ear that Adam had to hear what God was saying. The Bible did not capture in details too many things that God said to Adam. Apart from Genesis chapter 2, when God began to speak, when God gave him the commandments for existence in the garden, it was to tend and to guard it. And then God began to warn him, right, about the garden. And then that was it. God goes ahead to tell him about the need for help that is fitting for him. And God said, the Bible didn't say God said to him. So it must have been a discussion in God. And then Adam also communicated, just like God could communicate, Adam could also communicate. So Adam said, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, woman shall be called. And that faded. In Genesis chapter 2, we find out that there is the possibility of using what God designed to help you come into his realm of interaction and communication. There is a possibility of using it to speak with other spirits. Because in Genesis chapter 3, another spirit showed up, speaking through the lips of a creature of God that was more subtle than all the other beasts of the field. I'm speaking of the serpent right now. The serpent was just a go-between. It was not like the serpent is the devil in Genesis. I'm saying that creature exists. There's a creature called the serpent. Are you with me? Because God related it with other beasts. That serpent was a beast of the field. This one was not Satan. But there was a voice. And it's just like you have witchcraft cat. Abi? You know that one. They say there's witchcraft goat too. And that you send it away. You just stay and be listening to everything you are saying. well, I'm not saying it's a lie. Genesis chapter 3 shows that creatures can also come under the influence of satanic operations. They can.